and welcome to my channel. This is Lexsa with another video. Today we are going to get into some real tea, and I'm not going to use any real names. Okay, y'all saw the title, you know what this is about. I'm not going to use any real names. I'm gonna try my best not to use any real places because I don't need y'all figuring out who it is and harassing this boy. You know, not even a man, it's a boy. I don't need you guys harassing him, but I just want you to laugh a little because this is the type of stuff that goes on when you're single. I mean, not everything is, you know, flowers and rainbows, but y'all, this story time is probably gonna be the craziest story time you've ever heard, okay? So before I get into it, all right, make sure you get your popcorn, make sure you get your water, whatever you like to drink, and that you follow me on my social media, okay? If you haven't followed me on my YouTube yet, make sure you follow me. You see the button down there, you better go hit the subscribe button. Also, make sure that you follow me on all of my social media platforms at Lexsa Marie. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. So make sure you follow me on all my platforms so you can be informed before everyone else is. And yeah, I'm gonna hop right into this story time. All right, so for the sake of this story time making sense and being easy to explain, I have some notes, okay? And it's funny because when I was talking to this said person and they were giving me the rundown about their life story, whatever, I was taking notes. And these are the same notes that I had. So I think that's kind of funny because he kind of gave me notes for my YouTube video. So where do we start? Once upon a time, do you have your water? Do you have your beverage? Do you have everything? Okay. Once upon a time, right? This was, I want to say January, the beginning of January. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to say yes to everything. And when I told myself I'm gonna say yes to everything, I meant I'm gonna say yes to any opportunity that comes my way, meaning dating or anything. I'm not gonna say no, no, no. Oh, I don't feel like it. Oh, I'm not going out. You know, if he wants to go out with me, sure. If this guy wants to take me out, sure. Like, why not? So that was my attitude at the beginning of the year, right? So I downloaded this app, and before you keep watching, just guess what the app was. Just guess what the app was. And I feel like it's because it was the specific app that I came across a person like this. Okay, I downloaded Black. I downloaded Black. I don't know why I downloaded Black, but I was just like, you know what, hey, why not? You know, I'm in the crib, I'm not really going out for real. Let me just download Black. And for the people that don't know what Black is, it is a dating app with black people on it. So you can see black people and solely black people. Occasionally there'll be like one like white person or Hispanic person, but it's all black people. And it's like the Tinder, but for black people. So I got on the app and I wasn't really using it like that. Like I would swipe, but then I wouldn't continue a conversation, which I know is my fault, but I would not really continue a conversation. And I was swiping one day when I saw this guy, and let's just say for the sake of the video, his name was Biggie, because who shot ya, right? That's the, you know, title, who shot ya? His name is Biggie. So I saw Biggie and I said, oh, okay. Like it said nurse in his bio. He's an RN, he's a nurse. He had his little scrubs on and he didn't have his badge, which I understand because I wouldn't post my badge, the heck. So he said, oh, I'm a nurse, I like to cook, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, like if we don't end up talking, we could at least be friends because he's a nurse and he doesn't live that far from me. So I swiped, whatever, kept going, da da da, no crazy super like, okay? Just a regular swipe. I swiped it, kept going. And then I want to say like 2 days passed and I got this long message. And I'll let you know now, like, if I can find the messages, I don't know where they are right now, but if I find the screenshots or whatever, I am going to put everything in this video. So I don't give a damn. Like if he sees me airing out his business, he's gonna see me airing out his business. So yeah, he sent me this long message basically saying like, oh, I see you're in nursing school, that's really good. You know, it's good to see you're going down this type of path. Like I'm thinking he's just giving me advice about nursing or whatever. And he's like, you know, it'd be really great to get to know you, blah, blah, blah. Basically just shooting his shot. And he also said he wants to get off the app because he doesn't want to talk on the app. He's not on it that much. And I said, okay, cool, I feel it. So I responded and Immediately when he started talking, I kind of like, I was like, okay, he's saying all the right things. Like, it's a dude that's saying all the right things, acting correctly, whatever. And we were going back and forth talking about it once, and like what our goals are in the next couple years of our lives and what he's looking for in this moment. And at that time, I was just kind of like going with whatever. If I found someone that, you know, could just swipe me, take me up off my feet, I'd be with it. Like, I wasn't against being in a relationship, but I wasn't seeking a relationship, if that makes sense. So we were talking and chatting or whatever, and I want to say we talked all day. Like, we were sending voice notes back and forth, back and forth. And in the voice notes, okay, in the voice notes, he was telling me what type of nurse he was. And for the ladies that are nurses, listen to this, okay? Listen to this. I'm not gonna say the hospital, I'm not gonna say anything. But he told me he was a COVID, he did the COVID test part-time. He was a float nurse. He also worked in PACU. And what else? Oh, and he said like his sister was a part of like surgical services or whatever. He said all this stuff, right? And how like, you know, he loves nursing or whatever. And I was like, okay, you did PACU, you float, and you do this. I'm like, okay, so I already kind of like, I'm getting that you get to the bag. I like that. So it was easy for us to talk because I was telling him about like my concerns about being a nurse in this climate or whatever, and it was just good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like it was just a good conversation until things went south. So then I want to say the next day we FaceTimed, right? And on FaceTime I saw a kid running around in the back.
Oh hell no.
And I was like, like, as I'm checking him out, I'm like, okay, you know, 26, you know, he looks like his picture, whatever. We're talking, I see a kid running in the back. I'm like, oh, you got a kid? And then I see a woman walking in the back. I'm like, what's going on? You got a girlfriend? What's going on? And immediately, like, my antennas went like ding, 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 ding. So he was like, oh, nah, like, no, this is my sister. She was like, hey, whatever. And he said that she was staying because like something was up with her. She had just gotten out of surgery or whatever, and she had her nephew that would come over, or his nephew that would come over all the time. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, that's cool. And like, I just, you know, took it as it is. I'm not gonna say who owns what. And oh, excuse me. And he was just talking to me, and he said he wants to cook for me. You know, he was showing me him cooking or whatever. And I was like, okay. And we were getting ready to plan our first date. So he actually planned it. He actually planned it and told me, you know, get ready, whatever. And I didn't feel comfortable at the time with people coming to my crib and picking me up. Like, I just would rather meet you there. So I met him I want to say, so we started talking the very first day, and then we FaceTimed, and then the third day we went out on a date. So yes, so the day after we went out on a date. And we went to this speakeasy. Somewhere, like, it was like halfway between where we live. And I got there kind of late. Well, not late, I got lost. And I came up, I had my little outfit on. I was looking cute, you know, I was looking good. And I saw him in person. This man was so tall. I was like, why are you so tall for? No, because like, I know what 6'5" looks like, but it felt like he was a little bit bigger than 6'5". And I was like, okay. And I was so nervous, y'all. I don't know why I'd be nervous on dates, like, please. But we went inside and I sat down, we were talking. And when I get nervous, sometimes I like don't eat, and he kind of noticed, and I was like, no, I'm good. But as we were talking on the date and we were chit-chatting, whatever, a girl walks in. And she sits like on another table or whatever, and he goes like this. And I peep it. I'm like, are you good? I'm like, are you okay? Are you alright? And he was like, oh no, I'm fine. I'm like, well, you're ducking down. I mean, do you know her? And at the time he had told me, oh, it's this girl I used to work with, and I just didn't want her to see me like I'm out on a date, whatever. And I was like, okay. So this is when the red flags start rolling in, right? Start rolling in. So the ducking thing is one. So he saw some girl, whatever, and I was like, okay, like, that's all right. And after that, I want to say things just went all the way wicked. It was literally a roller coaster. So after we have food at the speakeasy, we were still talking or whatever. We were in his car for probably like 2 hours. He drove me to, he parked like right outside of the speakeasy and drove me to my car, and then we kind of just talked in his car until I went back home. But it was like, I want to say after that interaction, I just started noticing red flags left and freaking right. So as we were in the car, he was letting me know like, oh, I really enjoyed tonight with you. Hopefully, you know, we can do this again. And I'm like, okay, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'd love to go out with you again, whatever. And like, we didn't kiss. And I was like, you know, I don't be kissing on first date anyway, so I didn't really care. But I think to him, he was like kind of shocked that I didn't try to do anything. And I could kind of tell on his face, like, he was like, okay, just a hug. And I just gave him a hug and I left. But the first date was fine. Like, everything was fine besides him looking at shorty, right? Or him noticing the girl was coming in, whatever, that he knew. So now let's get into the next couple of dates. So the next couple of dates, I want to say, if our first date was on a Sunday, we had a date probably almost every single day. He tried to make a date plan every single day of the week, and I told him, I was like, hey, like, you know, I want some space in between or whatever. Like, I have some things I have to do too, so do you mind if like we see each other like every other day maybe? You know, I'm free maybe this day. He was like, this is when it started getting crazy, okay? This is when it started getting crazy. And I don't know what I did, what I said, but he started getting like,
oh, so now you don't want to see me? Oh, so like, now you don't want to see me anymore? Like, what's going on?
And I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I want some space in between. And he was like, okay, like, I get it or whatever. And I still, you know, played it, kept it cute. But I started to notice little things that he would tell me while we were on dates. Like, or not even on dates, but just like when we used to talk. So there was one time him and I were talking, and he said, well,
in my last relationship, my ex-girlfriend came and gave me lunch at work.
And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. He's like,
well, you didn't give me lunch at work.
And I was looking at him, mind you, we must have known each other for 5 days. And he was like, talking about how I'm supposed to be giving him lunch at work. And I'm like, well, you know, that was you and your girlfriend, and that's what y'all did, but me, you know, it's, you know, I'm just dating you, you know what I'm saying? And I tried to say it nicely, and didn't really go over well, but basically he started to show signs of wanting me to act like we were in a relationship, when in fact we were still dating. We only knew each other for a week. And he just started to show signs. I feel like after the first week of him and I knowing each other, things just started to escalate more for him rather than for me. And when I'm saying that, I mean, he wants to be in a relationship now. And I was like, no, we just know each other for 7 days, relax. And because I kept saying things like that, he started to literally spiral. And there was one night that literally, I think, blew my mind for a second, because mind you, my mom knows I'm going to see this guy or whatever. And I want to say this is like day 7 or 8 into me knowing him. I'm telling her, oh yeah, like, he's a nurse, blah, blah, blah. And he's been taking me here, and here. And she was listening. She was like, dang. And he was taking me to nice places. And he had like a BMW, something like that. He had a nice car, whatever. And she was just asking me like, oh, so like, tell me a little about him, or like what he does and like where he's from. And I would tell her like things that we've done and like where he's from, and she was just like, okay, that's a lot for someone that's 26. Like, are you sure that he, you know, like, are you sure about these things? Like, have you seen anything? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you know, sometimes people when they date, they just say stuff just to say stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, he told me he did this, that, and the third with his dad, and that's why he has his own house. And she was like, wow, really? He has his own house? And she was like, I was like, yes, he does. And she said, okay, well, I need you to do me a favor. You know, it doesn't seem like you know enough about this guy. So just be mindful that he might not be telling you the truth. And I was like, why are you being so negative? Why are you being so negative? Why are you being so negative? She's like, well, next time you go out on a date, make sure you look at the receipt. Just as something as simple as a name. Make sure you look at the receipt and see if he is who he says he is, right? And I said, oh, okay, whatever. So we go out again and we go to this place or whatever that he recommended. I was like, okay, sure. We get our food and him and I are like sitting next to each other in the booth, and the waiter comes and he pulls out his credit card, and the credit card does not say the name that he told me. So it said, like, instead of saying Biggie Smalls, it said like Biggie tall, like Biggie Purple. Like, it just said a completely different name. And I was like, oh shit. Like, okay, well, he did not tell me his last name. He lied. And it kind of had me thinking while we were on a date, like, why did he lie about his name? And I, you know, did my thing, and I was like, oh yeah, we should go to this bar that I know, like, it's real low-key or whatever. And he was like, really? Like, I never heard of it. I took him down there. I know how their shots are. Got him drinking some shots, whatever. Got him talking. And I asked him, I was like, so is there anything that, like, you haven't, you know, told me, or you know, tried to, you know, wait to tell me a little later? Like, I don't know, like something like your last name? And he was like, huh? He's like, what you mean? I told you my last name. My last name is Smalls. My last name is Smalls. Biggie Smalls. Biggie Smalls. And I'm like, okay. But I just, you know, I'm just asking because, like, when you signed your name, I saw a different last name.
Surprise, motherfucker.
So after I told him, I literally saw a different name on his credit card and the bill. He said, oh, well, I have two names. So sometimes I use one name for certain people, and other times I use another name for other people. So I said, so what other person am I? Like, what type of person am I? And he was like, no, not like that, not like that. Like, I don't like everyone knowing my name. And I said, okay. And as we're talking, I noticed he pulls out 2 phones. And I was like, and you got 2 phones too? He's like, yeah, you know, I have a work phone, whatever. I said, okay, you got like a play phone, a work phone. I was like, okay, cool. So I'm noticing a lot of things, and then he starts to see I'm skeptical, right? And this is honestly the funniest part. Everything else is pretty dry, but this is the funniest part. He tells me his background. He was like, you know, you looking at me like you don't trust me, and like I don't understand that. And I just don't understand, like, why don't you, like, believe what I'm saying? And I said, no, I just feel like, you know, I'm just trying to get to know you, and I just don't want there to be any secrets. He said, okay, well, if you want to know my life story, then here's my life story, right? And I have the list. I have the list of what he told me happened between the ages of, I guess, like 17 and 26, right? So what he told me, this is his life story. This is why he's so secretive. This was his response as to why he had been hiding his name and all this stuff, right? So he told me he was in a gang. He was in a gang, and if you guys saw this boy, he literally looks like alfalfa. like the black alfalfa. Like, he looks like he would not be involved in any of that mess. He literally told me, oh yeah, I used to be in a gang and it was in Louisiana and I got shot my senior year.
Who shot you?
Right? That's what he told me first. Then he said he took, yeah, he said he got shot, and then he said he went to jail for 6 months, right? So automatically I'm like, what the fuck?
Seriously, what the fuck are you doing?
So I'm editing right now, but I just wanted to mention that he tried to show me his bullet wound, and he was like, yeah, it's on my leg, it's on my leg. I was like, show me. He's like, nah. Anybody who's gotten shot be like, yeah, bro, yeah, like right here, bro, right here, right here. He didn't do any of that. He literally never showed me where he got shot on his ankle. Like, who shot you? So definitely without evidence, I have reason to believe that it was false. So yeah, I just wanted to add that in there. Cause like, really, like, who shot you? He wouldn't even tell me who shot you. I was like, who shot you? He didn't even know. So that's why his name is Who Shot You. But yeah, let's get back to the video. Automatically, I'm like, huh? Excuse me? You've never mentioned prison. Never. And he told me, yeah, you know, it's been hard for me. And then he told me after jail, right, keep up, that he took medical assistant classes. Because that's another thing I asked him about. Because I ended up asking him, like, I Googled you one time. Well, I didn't say I Googled you, but I asked him, like, are you a medical assistant or are you a nurse, right? And he was like, no, like, I'm a nurse. Like, how dare you question me, right? So even though all his credentials say medical assistant, that's a different story. That's later on. I'll go into it later on. But he told me he took medical assistant classes, right? After or while he was in jail. Then he said he became a flight attendant. Then he said he went to an institute of technology. Never told me where, never told me what. He literally said I went to an institute. And I was like, before or after a flight attendant? Before or after you're a flight attendant? He never let me know. He just said, oh yeah, I went to an institute of technology. Then he told me he was a party promoter in California when he lived in California. And then he said he was assistant of a manager somewhere, like some place he was working at. And then he told me he worked at some major California hospital as a nurse / medical assistant, and that he had car companies and did Airbnbs with his dad, right? He said all of this has gone on, I guess after he was in jail. And listening to that literally made my brain explode, okay? Like, he gave me no dates. He gave me no timeline. He just said, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. So automatically I'm terrified. I've been going out with this guy and I don't know anything about him. So I start to panic on the date and I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes no sense. And I go back and I just become Detective Benson. I literally become Detective Benson.
Get out of my face.
You're my bitch now.
This guy, when I'm telling you, everything that he told me on our dates was crazy. Everything he told me on the dates was a lie. So after I went back home, I was like, thank you for taking me out, blah, blah. Like, I really appreciate it. I downloaded BeenVerified.com, okay? And with his name that he signed with, I was able to look him up because the name that he told me, there was no information online. When I looked up his name with the last name that he signed with, all this information came up about him. And the first thing that came up about him was that he was a medical assistant and he did not have a nurse license in the state of California, Maryland, DC, anywhere. He didn't have Virginia. He didn't have a license. He wasn't a nurse.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
And he would tell me, and that's another thing, he would tell me like, oh, you don't know what it's like to be a nurse, like it's really hard, and like if you ever need a connection, like I can put you on, you know, I've been doing this nursing thing forever.
Stop it. Get some help.
He's not even a nurse. He wasn't even a nurse, y'all. That was the first thing. I'm like, so the main reason you started talking to me was a lie? So I found that out. He had maybe 3 accounts. Biggie had 3 accounts on LinkedIn. All said medical assistant. And then I saw his medical assistant license. His registry. He registered. I was like, yo. So I found that out. Thank you, Ben Verified. Shout out to Catfish. Because, please, I was on it with the quickness. And then, I also found out he wasn't 26. I also found out this man wasn't 26. He told me over and over, I'm 26, I'm 26. And that's another thing he would do. And I can get into this more, but I'm trying my best to remember like the meat, you know, meat and potatoes rather than the bones. But he would constantly make me feel like insignificant because of my age and make me feel small or like I didn't know anything. And it was kind of condescending. And I used to tell him like, don't talk to me like that. Like, I'm not that girl. Like, don't talk to me like that. And he would just say things like, oh, you don't know anything. Like, you know, you're so immature, blah, blah, blah. It turns out he was born the same year as me. And I was 2 months older. And I was 2 months older than him. And then I looked up, and don't call me crazy, I looked up who owned the house that he was trying to get me in. And in fact, his sister owns the house. His sister owned that house. He didn't own the house. The house that he told me his sister was crashing in was under her name and her ex-husband's name. Don't ask me how I know that. Just know, don't lie to me. Don't freaking lie to me. So I'm getting all this information, right? I'm doing all this detective work, and I'm finding out he lied about his age, he lied about his job, he lied about all this stuff that was happening. And then I even went deeper, looking at the phone number. I peeped from early on, he had a Syracuse phone number, like a New York Syracuse. Tell me why he was like, nah, like that's just like random, whatever. I look into it. I look Syracuse, what else is in Syracuse? He told me he went to the Institute of Technology. So I looked up his name and the Institute of Technology. And tell me why he came back to a school that's in Syracuse called the Institute of Technology in Syracuse. And his name was on the roster for the graduating class of 2017. It's a high school. It's a high school. So basically, you went to school in New York. No wonder you lying like this. I'm like, no wonder you lying like this. And you thought I was dumb? So I knew all this information, right? And I tried to give him, because he was such, I feel like he was sweet deep down, but he was a psychopath. So I was like on the phone with him, and my mom told me, no, do it in person, do it in person. I'm like, oh, this crazy nigga. I talked to him over the phone, and I was like, hey, listen, like, I just want to talk to you. Like, I don't want you to be like offended or anything. Like, I'm just trying to be real with you. Like, I just want to have a real conversation. You know, I like the time that we've spent with each other, and I don't want any miscommunications going on. So automatically I can tell he's on edge when I said that. I said, I just want to talk to you, whatever. He's like, what questions do you have now? What? Because you know I'm 26. And I was like, it's not about your age. But I mean, if you want to talk about it, no. But he was automatically on defense, and I basically told him, like, is there anything that you have not been upfront with me about? And he said, damn, you looked me up. He knew. He literally knew. He knew. And I said, I mean, I said, I mean, is there anything you want to just tell me up front? Because I'm really trying to have like an honest conversation with you, whatever. And he was like, no. I was like, nothing? About your job, where you're from, anything. He was like, dang, like what you trying to say? I've been lying. And then this is honestly, like, if he would have been upfront with me, I probably would have given him some grace. But this is what let me know he is like a pathological liar slash narcissist. He literally said, who are you to think I would even care enough to lie to you?
I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
He said, who do you think you are to think I would want to lie to you, that I would need to lie to you? And I was like, as I'm looking at his MA certification that he just renewed, I'm like, I must be that girl because you are literally lying to my face. And we're going back and forth on the phone. He's denying. Mind you, we've only known each other for 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. And all this stuff has transpired. So I started to, you know, keep my distance or whatever, keep my distance with him. And I want to say we went out like one more time. And then like, you know, I went back to school. So I was just like talking to him on the phone. But we went out one time and it's like the narcissist just started to keep pouring out. I feel like once he knew he was caught, he just like showed his true self to me. So I think our last date was at Dave & Buster's, right? It was at Dave & Buster's and him and I went, whatever. He was flirting with me, but he came with something to drink and I was like, you drinking? Like, you want to, like, you good? Like, he's like, yeah, you know, whatever. And now I'm starting to think about it a little bit. Why was he free every single day of the week? But you're supposed to be a float nurse, PACU nurse, COVID nurse, all this. Supposed to be taking business trips, right? Because he does investments and does Airbnbs and all this. How you got all this time though? But you're Mr. Do-It-All. So yeah, that was another discrepancy that I noticed. And I hope y'all noticed it while watching the video. But yeah, let's get back to it. He had something special in his cup. And we were walking through the mall because the Dave & Buster's was connected to the mall. And we're walking around and he starts making comments, y'all. I don't know if he thought I was like insecure or like one of those girls that's just not like, you know, the scalots is not clicking. But he was like, oh, he was looking at like, oh, like, let me get something for you. Let me get something for you, whatever. I was like, nah, I'm good. And he goes up to, we're going in Victoria's Secret and he's talking to me like, oh, I want to take you here. Like, I want you to wear this. And I was like, oh my God, stop. And then he gets like serious for a second and he goes, And then like I'm looking at some lingerie or whatever in my size. In my size, right? Because I'm a 36 triple D. I know my size. And he points at the plus size mannequin and he's like, I don't know if you're in the right section. You need to go to this section. And I'm like, excuse me? I was like, what? And he was like, you know, because you got a lot going on. You're a little big. And I was like, huh? I literally said, huh? And he basically was trying to call me a big body girl. And I'm like, I know I'm a little thick, but damn, like, what are you trying to get at? Like, what are you trying to get at? And then he made comments like, oh, like, you have no butt or stuff like that. And I'm just looking at him like, are you, like, I literally, what did I say to him? I think when he said that to me, I said, but you're still here and you're still grabbing it. So, I mean, what's, like, what are you trying to prove? So I think he was just trying to like figure out what I was insecure about. I don't even know. And I just brushed it off because, please, like, as you're paying for my stuff, like, okay. My little butt has not stopped much of a show. So he was just trying to do little stuff at the mall. Again, I'm keeping all this information And once I went away to school, it's like I think he just let go of that like Prince Charming personality that he gave me in the very first week, right? He gave me Prince Charming the very first week. And he started to literally lose his mind. So I want to say this is like week 3 of him and I knowing each other. So the third week, y'all, I am back at school. I go out and I go to my friend's birthday party. And my friend's in the car. He doesn't know my friend's in the car. But I was like, oh, is this boy calling me again? And I told my friends to be quiet because I was trying to explain to my friends that this guy is like really rude when he talks to me. You know, I'm trying to like, you know, kind of wean. Sometimes like I have an issue weaning off people, but I was just kind of figuring out if I could even deal with him. And I told my friend to be quiet just to hear how he talks, right? And he saw my outfit and everything, and we were in the car, and he was like, wow. He was like, wow, you look amazing. And I was like, oh, thanks. Like, I wasn't expecting it. And he said, okay. And he said, okay, like, are there gonna be guys there? He said, are there gonna be guys there? A guy that I'm talking to now at this point, not even dating, talking to. And I was like, no, we're going to like this nice restaurant in like for my friend's birthday. He was like, there? I said the name of the restaurant. He was like, really, there? Please, like, that's not even. I was like, excuse you? Who are you talking to? And he started to just go down this whole rant on how I used to look busted on all of our dates, and I never wore a dress and heels for our dates. Mind you, I told you we went to Dave & Buster's. We did like active stuff. Like, I think like dates are more fun when you're like walking around, like experiencing things together rather than just like sitting and eating. Like, I don't like dinner dates. I like dates where like we're getting an experience. So a lot of the stuff that I wore was cute, but you know, I had to wear sneakers, like I'm running around, or I had to wear like a low heel or something like that, or it wasn't a dress, like it wasn't appropriate, and it was January. So he was just saying like how I never look good for him, and I'm looking good for guys that aren't even interested in me, blah blah blah. And I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna get off the phone now. And my friend literally said the same thing, like he's trying to he's trying to do the most right now. So after that whole thing, after I thought about everything and like had some time to myself, I literally called him and I was like, you know, I appreciate the time that we spend together, but I don't like the way you talk to me. I don't like the way you talk about me, and I don't like that I feel like I can't trust you, so I'm moving on. Me saying that, I think he was expecting me to like beg or like stay around or stick around, and I was like, yeah, that's really about it. He was like, oh, okay, like, you know, I wasn't expecting you to say that, but okay, that's how you feel, whatever. And I said, okay, cool. But then I get a call the next day and he repeats everything that I just told him the night before. He's like, oh, I don't think this is gonna work out. I just don't think, you know, you and I are compatible in that way, but, you know, always contact me if you need something for nursing. I'm like, I'll contact a real nurse, and I already told you I'm not interested in you last night. And he was like, oh, I didn't understand it. So I don't know what's wrong with that boy. But basically, the dude lied to me. Biggie lied to me about everything. His name, his age, his job, if he got shot, that he was in a, literally he lied about everything. And I was talking to my mom about it, and she's like, she told me some guys just make up stories to sound interesting because they're really not interesting. And I was like, damn, like that's crazy. But yeah, that's basically it. I just think it's wild that that happened to me, because I wish I could remember like verbatim what he said in terms of like gaslighting verbiage and just making me feel insignificant, when in fact like he's the same age as me. Like I have a career that's technically higher than his, right? And it's just, you gotta be careful, y'all. This is more like a lesson, but just be careful who you date online. Make sure you actually like ask these dudes what they do, and don't be afraid to look somebody up, because people be lying. So if I did not look at his last name on that credit card, I would have never known any of this information. I would have never known any of this information. So make sure you guys vet your partners and you ask them all those get to know you questions, okay? Because child, I don't know what I was doing saying yes, 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 yes. Saying yes to every dude, but he really tried to bamboozle me. He really tried to finesse me and pressure me into a relationship quickly. God knows what he was trying to do, right? Pressure me into a relationship quickly, gaslight me, make me insecure. Like, it was just a narcissist doing his thing, doing his relationship thing. And I felt like this probably worked with other girls that don't mind, you know, don't see the signs and just get love bombed. But it was just, oh God, y'all. But I hope you guys are able to keep up with the story. I know it was a little bit all over the place, but it's just a lot going on. I do have more dating stories if you guys want to hear more. But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.